The ocean, the largest migratory expanse in the world. It has the longest and most dangerous routes, especially for this humpback whale mother and her calf. They have almost 3,000 miles ahead of them, from Hawaii to Alaska. Their destination is the Inside Passage. It's there that they will spend the summer in their feeding grounds. The whales will feed alone, or at times also in large groups. The humpback whales are not the only ones feeding here during the summer. Orcas not only feed but also mate here in Alaska. They will hunt humpback whale calves, but orcas are not the only danger for this little guy during this long journey. Maui, a dream vacation spot for many, and not just surfers. It's the second largest of the Hawaiian Islands. A fascinating island surrounded by picturesque mountain ranges that were created by volcanoes. Maui is also called the Valley Isle, and its climate is tropical all year round. After the rainy season between November and March, large waterfalls rush down the mountains and flow into the warm Pacific Ocean. Hawaii is a true paradise for surfers and also ocean inhabitants. This female sea lion has secured her favorite spot in the surf. Lava, the ocean, and the wind have created a unique island over the course of thousands of years. Surfers love the incredible waves that are found around here. Below the water's surface, other adventures await. A humpback whale mother and her calf. This little one is only a few months old. It's not old enough to feed on its own and will have to be suckled by the mother several times a day. The calf also has to surface in order to breathe, just like the mother. They can stay underwater for 15 to 30 minutes without breathing, and they can live for 40 to 60 years. The whale mother never leaves her calf alone. She's at the end of her strength because she hasn't fed in months. She has lost almost all of her fat reserves in order to feed the baby. Her calf is doing very well. It's curious, playful, and loves to chase around. Even the turtles are interested in the little whale. One of them comes knocking. It's exhausting to play all day, and like all babies, the whale calf wants to snuggle with its mother every once in a while. Young humpback whales sleep on their mothers' backs. The mother gave birth to the calf after a gestation period of a little less than a year. At birth, the baby weighed 2,000 pounds and was almost 15 feet long. Fully grown, this young humpback whale will be almost 60 feet long and weigh up to 55,000 pounds. Until then, the baby will gain weight every day. Humpback whales are known for their songs, used to make contact with each other, but also to discipline this little whale rascal. The temperate Pacific waters around Maui are a great meeting spot for whales and also large pelagic fishes. A pod of pilot whales are romping around. With a body length of only 18 feet, they're small in comparison with the humpback whales. Therefore, the small humpback family takes no further notice of them. There's no danger to either one of them from the pilot whales. The calf is constantly looking for body contact with the mother. Their bond is very strong in the first year of its life. These clever and fast predators are also part of the whale family, long-beaked dolphins. They will only grow to be about 9 feet long, but still larger than most other dolphin species. They're very playful and great acrobats. Sperm whales are also living around here, and they're quite laid back. No wonder, they're the largest toothed whales in the world and have to move around a body weight of 110,000 pounds. Their head alone is 54 feet long, and that's 1/3 of their entire body length. The baby has finished sleeping and is ready for more adventures. It tries to move farther and farther away from the mother each day, but she always keeps a watchful eye on the calf. NASA thought that the humpback whale's songs were so interesting that they put them on a DVD and sent them into space with an orbiter. The whale mother knows very well that there might be danger lurking around every corner. A large school of silky sharks shows up. They're widespread in subtropical oceans. The young calf would be the perfect prey for them. The mother and the calf are lucky. The sharks are not interested in the whale baby today, but are looking for small prey on the ocean floor. Despite strict hunting regulations, humpback whales are still endangered. It's estimated that their population is not larger than 10,000 to 15,000 animals worldwide. The calf has a visitor. A remora is searching the baby's skin for parasites and other dirt particles. The whale likes this cleaning procedure. The mother, on the other hand, has to save her strength. She's staying deep down and only comes up every 30 minutes to breathe. The warm Pacific waters around Maui are full of life. A large school of jack mackerel are swimming by. The whale mother is not interested in these mackerel. She won't feed until they get to Alaska, because she's looking for large amounts of krill and herring. But before she gets to feed, she has another 3,000 miles to go. The long-beaked dolphins will not go on long migrations. They would feed on the mackerel that the whale mother ignored earlier. The school is already in hot pursuit. Humpback whales are cosmopolitans, and they're at home in almost all oceans. They live around the equator and also in the Arctic and Antarctic waters. Similar to the dolphins, these pilot whales travel in schools, which helps to keep all individuals protected, especially from sharks. Lahaina Bay off Maui. This is the winter quarters of several humpback whale mothers with their young. Our mother from before is not alone here. The whale songs are used by the males to attract females. The males often fight fiercely for a female. Compared with other whales, humpback whales don't have a dorsal fin, but a small hump on their back, hence their name, humpback whale. Their skin colorings can vary compared with other whale species. Sometimes they're completely white underneath and sometimes dark. Some already have offspring. Others are still working on it, mating turtles. At times underwater or on the surface. After they mate, the female will lay her eggs on land. It's truly a phenomenon. They will come back to the same beach year after year to lay their eggs. The whale mothers are about to head out on their long journey. Up to 800 humpback whales travel to the Inside Passage off Alaska every year. They'll be traveling for 2 months before they get to Alaska. Looking at the calf, it's easy to recognize that humpback whales have the largest pectoral fins of all whale species. They're almost a third of their body length, and they help the whales reach a speed of up to 17 miles per hour. Up until the 1960s, humpback whales were heavily hunted. Their numbers plummeted. They've been a protected species since 1966. There are few creatures in the world that have inspired our fantasy as much as whales. For example, the giant whale that swallowed Jonah in the Bible, or Moby Dick in Melville's novel about Captain Ahab, who was driven by his hate for a whale that in the end seals his fate. Whales are impressive and interesting creatures. One last feeding before the migration can begin. A short breathing break, and another gulp. Unfortunately, they're interrupted by tiger sharks. The predators are interested in the calf. The little whale shows quite some gumption. It fights off the shark with its fin. The predators try again, and it doesn't work, not even the second time around. The shark disappears. The calf seems to be safe for now. The tiger sharks have found prey somewhere else, but they're still interested in the humpback whale calf. The danger seems to be averted. Soon after, there's another problem. A pelagic white-tipped shark appears. It circles the whales, but does not seem to be interested in the little whale. Peace in paradise, for now. The little whale family can continue to prepare for their journey. Evening in Maui. The humpback whale mother and her young can start their migration now. It's time. Their journey takes them into a totally different world. They leave behind the warm Pacific water and enter into a rough, cold climate. The Inside Passage of Alaska. It draws scientists from all over the world, a fascinating region. It offers incredible sights such as this. Feeding humpback whales. They plow through the water with their giant mouths wide open. Their furrowed throat pouch can stretch so that they can take in enormous amounts of krill and herring with one bite. There are countless islands off the coast of Alaska. The rock formations that reach out of the water are bizarre-looking sculptures made of stone. Thousands of birds nest in these steep rocks. Seagulls nest in small alcoves in the rocks. A puffin is a very typical inhabitant of the polar ocean. The same goes for this guillemot. Puffins are small birds, but are very successful and experienced fishermen. Their calls are very noticeable, usually 3 in a row. They change their range with each call, and it sounds a bit like an old rusty door. The mallards are resting. It's exhausting to catch fish in this cold climate. There's not much room on these steep rocks, and the competition for the best spots is great. This puffin is taking a bath in fresh water. It's a lot of work to look this beautiful. And then he's ready to go fishing again. Puffins can dive up to 210 feet deep. The northern Pacific is one of their favorite mating and hunting grounds. They prefer to eat fish in any which way. Rivers made of ice. That's what the glaciers are called in Alaska. They define the landscape in Glacier Bay. The humpback whales prefer the cold and nutritious water in the passage. The first arrivals are busy feeding. The American whale researcher Cynthia de Vincent has arrived in the Inside Passage. Anita Fulmer has come with her. She's a humpback whale expert. The Inside Passage magically draws the two scientists in. The two women are not alone. Biologist Mike Hurst has come here with his sail ship in order to record the humpback whale's songs. The whales make more than 600 sounds, and he wants to record as many as he can. Despite the rough climate, the weather in the passage is pretty good for now. Great conditions for the researchers and the camera team. And they don't have to wait long. A group of orcas has appeared with the same interests as the humpback whales. Most people only know these black and white predators from aquariums, where they have a sad existence. Orcas largely live in the northern oceans, such as the North Pacific, the North Atlantic, and the polar oceans. Compared with the humpback whales, their journey was not too long. The water here is dark, nutritious and turbid. Documentary film producer Natalie Tesha-Ricciardi uses a low-light camera to film the orcas during their hunt. She lowered the camera into the midst of a giant school of herring that's being followed by the orcas. Orcas are very intelligent hunters and are part of the toothed whale family. They're the largest of the dolphin family and can grow up to 30 feet. They don't only feed on herring, but will also hunt seals and small whales. Today, only herring seems to be on their menu. Their strategy is to corral the school of fishes into a merry-go-round and push them further and further up towards the surface. The low-light camera captures everything. It's only monochromatic blue in color, but it still shows the incredibly fast hunt by the pod of orcas. They're closing in on the herring. It's called cooperative feeding. Here are about 20 whales hunting together. They follow the school of fishes relentlessly and surround them more and more. Their strategy is to encircle the school until the herring lose their orientation and as a result instinctively head towards the surface. And that's exactly what the orcas have been waiting for. They throw themselves into the school of herring and feed. It's important for the whales to hit the herring with their fluke because it stuns the fishes and also kills them. The scientific interest in these large black and white dolphins is great. The English name killer whale is 2,000 years old. The Roman historian Pliny deemed them to be monsters. Nowadays, scientists agree that they are incredibly intelligent and quite gentle ocean inhabitants. The low-light camera shows how the orcas can operate with great speed in a very small area and how they decimate the school of herring more and more. Orcas have made a home in all the world's oceans. And scientists assume that, owing to their great intelligence and adaptability, orcas will survive the longest of all the whale species in the progressive destruction of our oceans. Orcas feeding in slow motion. The hunt is getting more and more intense because a fully grown whale bull needs 290,000 calories per day, and that requires several thousand fishes. Evening in the inside passage. The hunt is over. The humpback whale mother and her calf have finally made it. It's been a long journey, and the little bit of sunshine that's peeking out between the clouds must remind them of Maui, but not for long. It's never really warm in the inside passage due to the icebergs, which calve continuously. Cynthia de Vincent is looking for her divers. They're down below to look at the underwater world. It's a dangerous mission which requires experience, knowledge, and composure. Most of the iceberg is under the water's surface. The sharp edges of the ice can cut the divers' suits. They have to concentrate on what they're doing at all times. Their dry suits will keep them protected from the cold for a short while. It's difficult to navigate around an iceberg. Plus, there's always the danger that it will tilt and possibly bury the divers underneath. This dive is worth all the danger involved. The camera team makes a surprise discovery: a giant whale graveyard. These foul-smelling and nasty-looking pieces of flesh and bone are all that's left over from the gigantic ocean mammals. Small fishes and sea urchins feed on the last leftovers and are sitting on the skeletons of the whales. This graveyard is its own habitat. Countless ocean organisms are feeding on the colossus. They see this dark, sad sight as one big oasis. These are the baleen plates of a whale. The animal had about 400 of these in its mouth in order to filter plankton out of the water. Countless bacteria have decomposed the baleen and colored them brown. The camera team leaves this forbidding place. In another area, the ocean floor is covered with kelp. The nutritious ocean is a land of milk and honey for countless ocean inhabitants. A very large anemone. Shrimps looking for food. A little further away, a jellyfish. It pulsates its bell for locomotion and moves slowly but steadily forward. Rockfishes are camouflaged between the kelp and are waiting for prey. Feather stars are filtrating plankton out of the water. Nature is proving once again in the depth of the Inside Passage just how ingenious its continuous natural circle of life is. While ocean inhabitants are hunting on the surface, further down, others make a feast out of the leftovers and cleaning up the dead. The rockfish is still waiting for food. Such as this basket star. Jellyfishes find a rich provision of plankton and small crabs in these depths. In fact, they're themselves part of plankton. This prey is precious. The starfish has an oyster buried underneath. These cold and nutritious waters are ideal for orcas to mate. Lucky for the camera team, because these kinds of shots are rare. Orca females become sexually mature at the age of 6 to 10 years. This takes quite a bit of patience. Mating will take several hours at times, and it's all a question of coordination. Again, that was not it. The female takes it in her stride. The male will simply take off after they've mated. The orca male is not willing to give up yet. The gestation period for orcas is between 12 and 18 months. The calf will stay with the mother for another year after birth. Whales generally have a difficult time mating. For example, a blue whale's head and its sexual organs are 54 feet apart. This humpback whale is not in the slightest bit disturbed by the mating ventures of the orca couple. It's floating peacefully on the surface, sleeping soundly. It's a very rare sight, and one starts to wonder if the whale has fed throughout the night and is exhausted now. Why is it sleeping? The animal is breathing every 3 minutes, which is 3 times less than they usually breathe while calmly swimming. Mike Hurst creeps closer and closer with his boat. The sleeping whale is not in the slightest disturbed. This is a perfect situation for Mike. Maybe he'll be able to use his hydrophone and record the mysterious sounds of these giants underwater. It works. He's recording the whale's songs. Approaching this sleeping whale was worth it for Mike. These pictures show why it's so important for whale researchers like him and Phil Samet, and also camerawoman Natalie Tesha-Ricciardi, to come to the Inside Passage and collect information about these giants. Cynthia de Vincent has also been very successful. For the last 30 years, she's been counting the humpback whale's numbers. She's able to recognize each individual whale by their flukes. Anita Fulmer is flipping through Cynthia de Vincent's famous book, Voyaging with the Whales, and it brings up thoughts about an old acquaintance of hers. Anita befriended a female beluga whale that she named Wilma. Anita met Wilma several years ago in Chedabucto Bay in northeastern Canada, south of the estuary of the St. Lawrence River. Anita felt a special bond right after she first met the animal. Ever since then, the two of them are best friends. It's hard to explain why Wilma chose to befriend Anita and decided to play with her. Wilma will not let anybody else come this close to her. Anita only has to put her hand in the water and Wilma will come to her. The beluga would never bite her seriously. She plays with Anita's hand very gently. Belugas have a great repertoire of sounds and body language. In contrast to their other family members, they can move their heads, turn their bodies around while swimming, and can also swim sideways and backwards. And it seems that they always have a friendly smile on their faces. There's always time to play. The two of them form a fountain. Underwater, Wilma is searching for food in this cold and dark water of the bay. This is where her feeding grounds are. The current is strong and the water very nutrient-rich. But right now, Wilma only wants to play and not hunt for food. This wolf eel is a bit intimidated by Wilma because she's a tad too large for him. The beluga is tired of waiting for Anita. She's tugging at the anchor chain, which signals to her human friend that it's time to get in the water and play. Anita knows what Wilma wants and jumps in the water with a fresh tank full of air and a warm dry suit, so that she can stay down with her friend for a while. Wilma has been waiting long enough, and now it's time to start playing. The whale has no fear of Anita's mask or tank. She's used to them, they don't spook her. Wilma keeps nodding at her friend. Whale experts interpret this behavior as affection, but we'll never know exactly what Wilma wants to tell Anita. Beluga whales are known for their sounds. Seamen used to call them the sirens of the oceans. Their songs are used to hunt and for orientation. Their sounds echo, and that's how they can find prey. Wilma keeps including the anchor chain in their play. There's no need for training or an aquarium show here. Wilma and Anita have found each other in the open ocean. They became friends right away. Since their first meeting, Anita spends 4 weeks each summer with her friend. Wilma also seems to enjoy every minute they spend together, and in return offers Anita an in-depth look into her behavior and gives her new insights into her species. Wilma is a runaway. She's part of a pod of belugas that spends the summers in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. Is it Anita who attracts the whale to come into Chedabucto Bay? We'll never know. Wilma plays a little bit more on her own because Anita's tank is empty and she's had to surface. The beluga female already seems to be missing her human friend. Wilma keeps coming back to the anchor chain and pushes it with her snout, but Anita does not react this time. Even the best of times have to end at some point. They'll see each other again next year. It's high noon in the waters off Alaska. The hunt is in full swing. The inside passage consists of a maze of bays and small channels. The two British explorers James Cook and George Vancouver drew the first maps of this area at the end of the 18th century. The weather's getting worse. Dark clouds and fog make it harder for the team to see. At least there's no rain yet. They're waiting for the first larger pods of humpback whales. The team wants to film their spectacular hunt. The Steller sea lions, on the other hand, are here all year round. They're the largest of all sea lion species, and they were named after the German explorer and researcher Georg Steller. They're also here because of the large amounts of food that are in the water. The Steller sea lions are competing with the humpback whales for the large schools of herring here in the inside passage. The Steller sea lions are obviously not afraid of the dark giants. They're hassling our little humpback whale, but the sea lions are not interested in the whale, only in the prey that the whale has arduously driven towards the surface. The Stellers know how the whales feed and try to profit from it. The little whale is quite forgiving, but this will not happen to him again. Sea lions have one thing in common. Here, and also in California, they can be heard from far away. They will become even louder and more unpleasant towards one another when they're fighting for the best resting places on the rocks along the shore. Georg Steller discovered the Steller sea lions during an Alaska expedition in 1741. They're not always looking for food directly along the shore. They can actually dive up to 540 feet deep. A fully grown Steller bull is 4 times as heavy as his cousin in California. Cynthia de Vincent has been observing the Steller sea lions for years, but from a distance. She's also counting these mammals for her organization for the protection of ocean mammals. This colony is one of the largest. Cynthia is not happy with the numbers she's counting. The populations are not growing at all. There are only 2,000 of them left in the northern oceans, and they're very endangered. It's still not clear why the Steller sea lions are dying off. Maybe they're being poisoned by the herring they eat. The oceans are all getting warmer, which results in a dangerous algae bloom, and the toxins can be found in the herring that the sea lions eat. If that's the case, are the whales also at risk? This group seems to be very healthy. Cynthia de Vincent has decided to keep a closer eye on this group of sea lions in the future. In spite of it all, on this evening, the bay has been dipped in mystical colors. Cynthia and Anita want to record the songs of the whales at night here in this calm bay. The hydrophone is lowered several feet into the ocean. The whale researchers use state-of-the-art technology in order to record the songs perfectly. The humpback whales also sing at night. They sing for different reasons. One is to hunt and the other is to find a mate. The males will sing for the affection of a female, at times for 20 minutes at a time. The next morning is sunny. A positive sign of things to come? It looks like it. One humpback whale hits the surface of the water with its fluke several times. Is it joy that makes the whale do this, or just trying to get rid of parasites? It's neither. The whale found a large school of krill and is driving them together. The whale's fluke does not contain bone and is therefore very flexible. Panic underwater. Krill consists of many thousands of little red shrimps that are at home in the inside passage. The hungry giant is ready to feed on them. The whale keeps hitting the water's surface with its fluke. Other whale species, such as the orcas, also use their flukes for the same purpose. Another big surprise. A blue whale has appeared. It's the largest mammal in the world. It only has one interest, the masses of krill that the humpback whale has gathered. Nevertheless, there's still enough to feed on for the humpback whale. Three months is all that the humpback whales have to feed here in Alaska. They consume over a ton of food every day during that time. Nothing is left. They also swallow a large amount of water with each gulp of fish and krill. The whales will push the water back out, and the krill and fishes get stuck in their baleen and are swallowed. Cynthia and her team are totally fascinated by this spectacle very close to their boat. Unfortunately, the weather has got worse. An icy rain is coming down now, but the team doesn't even notice it because these pictures are incredible. It looks slow, but is very fast in reality. The whales will reach a speed of up to 17 miles per hour during their hunt. They're starting to hunt together. The cooperative feeding has begun. The whales are coming closer and closer to the zodiacs. All of a sudden, the group has grown much larger. The humpback whales open their mouths at an almost 90-degree angle. They skim the nutritious water almost like a dip net. It costs the whale a lot of strength to feed sideways. Enough for today, at least for those two. They're very slowly descending. Seaplay captain John Brooks makes an incredible discovery. An entire group of humpback whales are shooting up out of a bubble net. John hits the gas and the camera team is in position. A very large school of herring has come into the bay, and the whales start their bubble net feeding. The whales surround the school of herring with a net of bubbles that the whales blow underwater. It irritates the herring, and they lose their orientation. The fishes become very easy prey for the whales. Humpback whales are masters of this feeding technique. They all blow the bubbles at the same time. Up to 20 humpback whales will take part in this type of hunt. The lead bull is always the one to start this hunting strategy. Our ship is of absolutely no interest to the whales. While the whales feast on their catch, the seagulls are waiting for leftovers. Pure humpback whale happiness. After months of famine, now comes the feast in their feeding grounds off the Alaskan coast. Unfortunately, these feeding grounds are in danger due to climate change. Will the whales' ability to feed here come to an end soon? And will they be able to find other feeding grounds outside of Glacier Bay? Scientists are speculating that this is what's going to happen. This whale is luckily not aware of the dangers that are looming. The animal is still happy to have such a rich catch. Our humpback whale mother and her calf are not anywhere near this group of whales. She's hunting alone somewhere to protect her baby. For thousands of years, orcas and humpback whales have hunted for food during the summer months here in the Inside Passage. We can only hope that they will be able to do so for thousands of years to come.